Ferrari were supposed to dominate Monaco. They had the perfect circuit, the perfect chance, the perfect excuse to finally expose the true speed of the SF-26. Leclerc topped Friday. Hamilton topped Friday. Active aerodynamics were banned, Ferrari's straight-line weakness mattered less, and the whole paddock thought Maranello had found its golden opportunity. Then qualifying destroyed everything. Leclerc was flying. Fastest in the first sector. Fastest in the middle sector. Pole was still alive. Then he hit the wall. Yellow flags. Lap gone. Front row gone. Monaco dream gone. And the most painful part is this. Ferrari were not slow. They were fast enough to win pole, but fragile enough to throw it away when the pressure peaked. Hamilton rescued third. Leclerc was trapped in fourth. Antonelli stole pole from Mercedes. Verstappen split the fight in second. And now Ferrari have to face the truth they were hoping Monaco would hide. The SF-26 has pace, but its tire window is so narrow that one small mistake can turn a winning car into a second-row disaster. Because Monaco did not expose Ferrari's lack of speed. Exposed something much worse. Ferrari had the car to win and still lost the moment. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why Ferrari's qualifying collapse hurts so much, you have to understand what Monaco was supposed to be. It was not just another race weekend. It was supposed to be Ferrari's escape route. For most of the season, the SF-26 had carried a frustrating identity. It was a car with genuine cornering strength, real balance in slower sections, and enough chassis quality to make Ferrari believe it could fight at the front. But again and again, one weakness kept following them. Straight-line speed. On circuits where power and efficiency mattered, Ferrari had been forced to defend instead of attack. The car had grip. It had potential. It had moments where both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc could make it look alive. But against Mercedes especially, Ferrari often looked like it was missing the final weapon. Then Monaco arrived, and suddenly, that weakness was not supposed to matter as much. Monaco is not a normal circuit. It does not reward a car simply because it is fast on the straights. It does not give drivers long sections where pure engine performance can rescue a poor corner. It is narrow, slow, bumpy, and relentless. It rewards traction, balance, braking confidence, tire preparation, and the driver's ability to place the car centimeters from the wall without hesitation. That is why Ferrari believed this was their moment, because Monaco looked like the perfect match for the SF-26. The car's slow and medium speed strengths could finally come forward. The lack of long straights could hide the power deficit. And when the governing body removed active aerodynamics at Monaco for safety reasons, Ferrari's opportunity became even clearer. Active aerodynamics had been one of the major new features of the season. Wings could change angle, reducing drag on straights and adding downforce in corners. But in Monaco, on streets this tight and unforgiving, that system was not used in the same way. Everyone was pushed toward a high downforce, low-speed configuration. In simple terms, one of Ferrari's biggest disadvantages was reduced. The fight became more about the car underneath the driver, more about grip, more about balance, more about confidence. And on paper, that should have suited Ferrari perfectly. That is why Friday mattered so much, because Friday seemed to confirm every hope Ferrari had carried into the weekend. Leclerc was fastest in the first practice session. Hamilton was right behind. The SF-26 looked sharp from the beginning, like it had landed in the right operating window immediately. The car rotated well. The drivers looked confident. The balance seemed strong enough to make the rest of the paddock notice. Then the second practice session made the statement even louder. Hamilton went fastest. Leclerc was second. Ferrari had topped both Friday sessions. That is exactly what a team wants at Monaco. Not because practice guarantees pole. It never does. But because Monaco is built on rhythm. The more laps a driver can complete with confidence, the more the walls start to feel manageable. The more the car feels predictable, the more the driver starts taking the kind of risks that create pole laps. Ferrari had rhythm. They had speed. They had both drivers inside the fight. And for the first time in weeks, the story sounded simple. This was Ferrari's weekend. But that is where the danger began. Because sometimes the most painful collapses start with a perfect setup. A slow Friday gives a team a warning. It forces humility. It makes the engineers stay cautious. It keeps the drivers realistic. A dominant Friday can create something more dangerous. Belief. And belief can turn into pressure when qualifying arrives. That is especially true for Ferrari because Monaco was not only a technical opportunity, it was an emotional one. For Leclerc, this was home. That changes everything. Every Formula One driver wants pole in Monaco, but for Leclerc, Monaco carries a different weight. It is not only a circuit, it is memory, expectation, heartbreak, and unfinished business. Every lap there feels personal. Every wall has history. Every chance feels heavier because the whole weekend seems to ask the same question. Can this finally be the one? That pressure was already intense. Then Ferrari's Friday pace made it even heavier. Because once a driver knows the car can fight for pole, the expectation changes. Fourth place no longer feels like a strong result. Third no longer feels safe. Second feels like failure. The only result that matches the potential is pole. That is the trap Ferrari walked into. The SF-26 had pace, but it also had a weakness that never went away. Tire sensitivity. This is the key to the entire collapse. Ferrari's car could be fast when the tires were exactly right, but the window was narrow. Too cold and the car would slide. Too hot and the grip would disappear in a different way. The tire has to be in that perfect middle zone where it bites into the track, responds to steering, and gives the driver confidence when the car is loaded. When Ferrari found that window, the SF-26 looked brilliant. When they missed it, the car became unpredictable. That issue had already appeared earlier in the season. In Miami, both Ferrari drivers struggled with getting the tires into the right temperature range. Leclerc had suffered from overheating while defending. The pattern was already there. The Ferrari was not slow. It was sensitive. And sensitive cars can be cruel, because they make the team believe everything is fine until the exact moment the driver needs the car to be perfect. At Monaco, that danger becomes even sharper. The lap is short. The corners are tight. The tires go through quick bursts of load and heat. Traffic can ruin preparation. A tiny slide can overheat the rubber. A slightly wrong warm-up can leave the tire below its best. And because there is no space, the first sign of lost grip can become contact with the wall. That is why Ferrari's Friday dominance was not a guarantee. It was a warning hidden inside a promise. The car had pace, but only if everything stayed inside the window. Then Saturday arrived, and the first cracks appeared. Final practice did not look like Friday. Mercedes responded. Antonelli went fastest. The session was messy, with interruptions and red flags, but the mood shifted. Ferrari were still in contention, but the certainty was gone. The perfect story from Friday had started to bend. That mattered because qualifying in Monaco is not just about who has the fastest car. It is about who can execute when the margin becomes brutal. The driver needs the right tires at the right moment. The team needs the correct timing. The traffic has to open. The preparation lap has to work. The car has to be balanced but not too sharp. Stable but not lazy. Alive but not nervous. Everything has to line up. And Ferrari needed everything to line up because the championship situation demanded it. Mercedes were already leading the Constructors' Championship. Antonelli was leading the Drivers' Championship. Ferrari were close enough to still fight, but not close enough to keep wasting weekends where the car could win. That is why Monaco was more than a race. It was an opportunity Ferrari could not afford to miss. If they took pole, they could control the most overtaking resistant race on the calendar. They could strike back at Mercedes. They could turn the SF-26 strengths into points. They could give Leclerc a home moment and Hamilton a major Ferrari breakthrough. If they missed, the damage would be bigger than the grid positions. It would be psychological. And qualifying is where the damage came. The first segments were not the problem. Ferrari progressed safely. The car still looked competitive. Leclerc looked like he had the confidence to fight. Hamilton looked composed. There was no sign yet of a total collapse. But Q3 at Monaco is different. That final session is where the walls get closer because the drivers are no longer building. They are risking. They are cutting the margin to nothing. They are trusting the tires, the brakes, the steering, and every instruction from a team. And with every minute, the tension rises. Verstappen put himself into the fight. Mercedes were not fading. Antonelli was still there. Hamilton had enough speed to remain dangerous. Leclerc at home had to find the lap. And then the final runs began. This is where Ferrari's entire weekend turned on a few seconds. Leclerc started the lap, and the pace was there. That is what makes the collapse so painful. He was not struggling. He was not obviously off the pace. He was not driving a car that had no answer. He went fastest through the first sector, then fastest through the middle sector. Pole was alive. In that moment, everything Ferrari had hoped for was still possible. Friday had not been a lie. The SF-26 had the speed. Leclerc had the confidence. The home crowd had reason to believe the lap was becoming something special. But Monaco does not reward a lap until the line. And in the closing sector, the balance shifted. Leclerc hit the wall. Yellow flags came out. The lap was gone. The pole chance was gone. The front row was gone. That is the moment Ferrari's weekend changed from hope to regret. Because when a driver crashes while chasing a lap that looks slow, people can accept the risk. He was trying to rescue something. He had nothing to lose. But when a driver crashes on a lap that already looks like pole, the pain is different. He had everything to lose. And he lost it. That is why this was not just a mistake. It was the symbol of Ferrari's season. A fast car, a real chance, and a decisive moment that slipped away. Hamilton, meanwhile, delivered a clean lap and took third. That saved Ferrari from total disaster, but also made the collapse more complicated. Because Hamilton's third proved the car could be brought home. It proved the SF-26 had enough pace to qualify near the front without ending in the wall. But Leclerc's lap proved something else. The absolute peak was there, and Ferrari did not convert. That contrast hurts. Hamilton was controlled. Leclerc was potentially faster. Hamilton secured the result. Leclerc chased the dream and lost it. Ferrari ended third and fourth, which would be respectable at many circuits. But not after that Friday. Not after that opportunity. Not at Monaco. Because at Monaco, starting third and fourth can feel like starting behind a locked door. Overtaking is brutally difficult. Track position defines the race. Strategy is narrow. A safety car can change things, but no team wants to build its weekend around needing chaos. Ferrari needed pole, or at least the front row. Instead, Mercedes had Antonelli on pole. Red Bull had Verstappen second. Ferrari had the second row and a long list of questions. That is why the collapse was so dramatic. Not because Ferrari were slow, because Ferrari were fast enough to make the failure undeniable. A slow Ferrari could have hidden behind development. A slow Ferrari could have said Monaco did not suit the car after all. A slow Ferrari could have blamed the rivals.